I have learned authenticity and putting the realness of who you are out there will help way more than it hurts. I think people are afraid to put themselves out there thinking, hey, I'm going to turn some people off or whatever. That may be the case, but you're going to gain way more people that contact you because they connect with you than you're going to lose people that say, I don't like who that person is.
How do you stay in the top 5% of your market year after year without constantly chasing business? What if part of that answer is building your business in a way that most agents aren't even thinking about, especially at a local level? Because if we're honest, a lot of agents can have a good year or two, but sustaining that over decades, doing it in a way that actually feels consistent, relationship-driven, and not chaotic while still keeping your family at the center, that's where most people struggle. So what does that actually look like in the real world? And is there a simpler, more relational way to grow your business locally that maybe you haven't even considered? That's what we're unpacking today. Wow, faithful agents, I almost forgot the Christian dad joke, and that would have been a travesty. And every one of you is wishing I did forget. But you know what? Don't be mean. So let me give you a Christian dad joke before we jump back into the interview with Nick, which I'm excited for y'all to listen to. Which Bible character was super fit? Absalom. You know, there's times I can't even believe that I'm saying this stuff out loud to the world, but you know what? I don't even know what to say about that. I love you, faithful agents. Enjoy this episode. Today, I am joined by Nick Woodard, a Nashville-based realtor with over 20 years of experience helping individuals and families navigate buying and selling homes. Nick grew up in Williamson County, went to Middle Tennessee State University, and started his real estate career the day after graduation. He's worked with everyone from well-known country music artists all the way to first-time homebuyers, and no matter who he's serving, his reputation is built on authenticity, strong relationships, and genuinely caring for his clients. He's maintained a spot in the top 5% of realtors for the last 4 years, which is a testament to both his results and the trust he's built in his community. He's also the host of the 615 podcast, a platform focused on meaningful conversations with the people of Nashville and giving them the space to tell their story. I'm excited to dive into that with you, brother. And what I appreciate about Nick most is that he's not just a great agent, he's deeply rooted in the community and genuinely invested in people. If he's not working, you'll find him on the sidelines coaching youth football or out kayak fishing on some of the beautiful Middle Tennessee streams. Nick, excited to have you here, brother. I hope that covered it, man, but fill in any gaps, buddy. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, appreciate it. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, dude, 100%. To meet a fellow podcaster, right? I always find that fun because it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't, we're kind of figuring it out as we go along. Just, everybody kind of understands the game. So, no, it's fun to have you. So walk me through this because what I found, and I share this with you pre-show, what I found is fascinating. There's been many people who have come in who aren't real estate agents and say, yeah, podcasting could be a good way to grow your business. Not many that are doing it like you're doing it at a local level to reach your local market. So, man, just jump right in. Tell me what you're doing with the podcast, where that came from, and just kind of walk me through what that looks like.
Yeah, man, it's just, being here in Nashville, I grew up here. My wife's in the music industry. So I'm very blessed to have relationships with some pretty neat people, a lot of well-known people or a lot of people that, just have interesting lives and, like to talk. So I just decided, man, let's put a podcast together and just let these people get their story out. So the podcast is not about highlighting me. Now, of course, we use clips and stuff like that for marketing and branding and stuff like that. But it's mainly just, hey, let's get people that are known in the community, get them on here, let them tell their story, and just interact with them, kind of like me and you were doing. And it becomes way more entertaining if you just give people a platform to turn them loose and let them talk about what they do.
Hmm. Are they getting on there and you're just, what's the approach, Nick? Is it, I'm doing a podcast, especially early on, right? Now that you've got some.
Well, so the funny thing is I've done I don't know, probably 50 something episodes now, and everyone I've interviewed is actually a friend of
Hmm,
mine. So it hasn't been difficult at all,
hmm,
just because I'm talking to people that I know, whether it be
awesome.
clients or friends or, acquaintances or whatever. So
Hmm,
I would say when starting out, that really
hmm,
helped because I wasn't trying to be a host. I wasn't
hmm,
having to come up with these crazy questions. It's just, hey, I know this guy, I know what he does.
hmm,
So I can just formulate some questions to get the conversation going, let him tell his stories, and it engages with people. And then I can, throw in a little bit of real estate or branding or that type thing. But it's not a sales pitch. It's not a boring, these are the numbers in the market. And, who wants to tune into that every single
hmm,
week? So it's just a matter of getting interesting people out there and just sitting down and talking,
hmm.
man.
So you were telling me, right, you had started for 4 years, but you said it was audio only and it was terrible. And then for the
Yeah, it
last
was
2
a
years,
mess.
last 2 years you've been doing video and, really having a studio. But tell me how, I wanna zoom out and say, how has it impacted your business? And then come back in and say, let's talk about the actual tactical piece of it. But
Yeah, man.
yeah.
I'll say it's helped
Mm,
exponentially, and mainly because, and I'm not really a social media guy. Like I really didn't want to get into that space, but I started seeing how it had a lot of benefits. So I would do my podcast. We'd break it up into clips. I'll put it out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms, and just create interesting content that's engaging to people. That grows attention, that grows your followers, that also grows people looking at the properties I have listed
mm,
because I'll tie it all together. I don't have, one Instagram for this and one Instagram for the podcast. I'll put podcast clips and then I'll put my listings. I'll put, all the video content. I'll do lifestyle stuff, just anything I can do to grow my brand, which will then, then bring more eyeballs to the properties that people have entrusted me to
Hmm.
represent.
Smart. So this was more of a frontline funnel, if you will, to say instead of just being another agent who's just putting out, here's my new listing or just sold, whatever. Like, and the only people actually see those are other agents, right? You were
Of
creating
course.
content that you wanted your hyper local market to pay attention to as a funnel to now look at all my other stuff. Is that, effectively what the thought
Yeah,
process was?
yeah, more or less. I don't I don't believe that was the intention going into it. That's kind of been the
Hmm.
results from it
Hmm.
though. I just at first it was all about, I had some really cool friends
Hmm.
and wanted to share their story, a bunch of songwriters, entertainers, local firefighters or friends of mine that are in my Bible study
Hmm.
and they got great stories. Hey man, let's just get them on air and let them tell their story. And if you can engage with people, they put it this way, man. You put a microphone in front of your face, people think you're an expert.
That's true.
That's
Hey, don't tell anyone that,
kind of
Nick, because they still think that about me. It hasn't been true in 5.5 years. No, I mean, I love like and I love that you just said because I think a lot of people, the initial objection will be like, well, Nick's in Nashville. He knows all these cool country stars, whatever. And it sounds like you do know some. But then you talked about firefighters, right? What you're saying is just find people locally that are interesting, that have interesting stories to tell, and just have a conversation. If you're an agent, if you're gonna be a good agent, you gotta know how to have conversation anyways, and
right,
your point is just
right.
saying, just sit down and record it and get it out in the local market that people may be attracted to that, to be that center of influence or that piece that they go to learn more about their community or whatever. Through that, they're gonna find out, "Hey, look at me, I'm a real estate agent." They start to trust you. Man, what did that look like for you getting started? Someone who thinks, "Hey, this is a cool idea," or I've talked to agents, Nick, that have said, I've been thinking about getting into podcasting. I don't know where to start. How would you help someone? What would be your advice to that person?
Here's the magic bullet. Let's see, the magic to everything. You don't have to release it if it doesn't turn out well,
That's true.
you know? So there's no point in sitting there and getting worked up and nervous about releasing something. Put it together, rewatch it, and if you like it, great, roll with it. I am someone who rewatches all my content just to learn from it. You know, it's like watching. I'm youth football coach and love breaking down game film. I do the same thing for my content and podcasts. Okay, what resonated, what hit, what didn't. What pulled in conversation, what created dead air, that type thing. So you get better as you go and you get way more comfortable with it. Now, I have had some episodes where after recording it, I told the producer, I was like, this one didn't go well. Let's
You and me both.
Just because you record it doesn't mean you have to put it out for the world to see.
I love that.
But one thing I did learn most importantly is a podcast. You know this as well as anybody, that in real estate, it's all about connecting with somebody, because this is a long relationship, minimal 30 days max. I mean, I'm working with people that I've had for a year and a half. People want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. My whole concept of social media, podcast, YouTube is I want people to get to know me before they meet me. So people tend to gravitate towards people that they connect with. And, if you see my stuff out there and you're like, this isn't a guy I'd really get along with, great. I wish you the best of luck. We're not a good fit. But I have learned authenticity and putting the realness of who you are out there will help way more than it hurts. I think people are afraid to put themselves out there thinking, hey, I'm going to, piss off some people or turn some people off or whatever. That may be the case, but you're going to gain way more people that contact you because they connect with you than you're going to lose people that say, I don't like who that person is.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I look at my stuff on Instagram and YouTube. It's, me hunting and fishing and football and all that stuff. I'm just kind of a Nashville country boy that grew up here, and I know every back road and, all the details of everything. I've been here since I was 7 years old, but I don't portray myself as this over the top luxury agent. And I sell quite a few luxury homes, but that's not the persona I wanted to put off. And I connect with people that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think so much that you said there, first of all, is true. Yeah. My worst episodes, no one's ever heard them but me. Right. So it's absolutely right. And thankfully there's not as many as those as often as they used to be.
There was probably way more on the front end than there are on the back end.
At the beginning, I told Nick, pre-show, is like, when people say to me, he said, he started 4 years ago, but really 2 years ago, because the first 2 years were terrible, as I shared. I was like, man, when people tell me they started listening and they're like, I'm going to go back to the beginning, it's like, please don't do that. And those are even the episodes we showed you. The first 3 we recorded, no one has ever heard those, and I've deleted them so I don't have to listen. So I love that. That's absolutely true about the magic. But, specifically what you're talking about, Nick, and man, I talk a lot about authenticity as well. The reality of, be who the Lord created you to be. I heard, years ago at a men's retreat, it was a pastor buddy, and he said, God loves the real you, not the ideal you. And number one, I think that's beautiful and true, but I also think about it in the context for us, of our clients. They want to see the real us, not the ideal us. And even, my lead agent, Jesse, who loves to fish and hunt, probably similar to you, Nick, drives a big truck, all those things. And, he'll pull up to a $1 million listing, which for us is like crazy high, wearing his boots from when I don't even know what they're called, but, he was on his boat earlier fishing, and he wearing these boots and he looks terrible. And then the people side with them, and he shows up to these agent events And they're like, we don't understand how you're outselling us. They're like shirt and tie and, we're nice dress, whatever, which if that's you, that's okay. And he just
Right.
shows up in his fishing gear and he's like, man, this is who I am. And if they don't like it, what I love that you said is you want to repel the people that aren't going to like you. That's what this is supposed to be. And then you will attract the people who do like you. And I think agents, Nick, and I'd love for you to talk about it, agents broadly are so terrified of repelling anyone. They were like, no, I need to attract everyone. Who's your client? Everybody that lives here. Well, that's
Right.
not true, right? So, man, dive into that piece. Like, when did you realize authenticity was, this not a strategy. It sounds like you're faking it, but
Sure.
when did you realize that was going to be a game changer to really let people get to know you?
So I'm gonna give my boy a shout out. There's a guy named Mike Cuevas who has a podcast
Oh
too. It's
yeah, I
called
love
the
Mike.
Marketing
Yeah.
Geek. Mike. I listened to him 5-6 years ago, and he was pressing this
Hmm.
constantly: be yourself, be authentic. And after listening to his podcast, it was like I wore a ball cap all the time. I wear boots and jeans and a t-shirt. And basically what he was teaching was lean into it. And so I was like, all right. So that's when I branded the 615 hat.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm going to wear a hat anyway.
Hmm.
Not everybody likes Alabama like I do. I can't wear a Bama hat all the time.
Fair.
So I was like, okay, let's get a hat and kind of use that as my brand. And I've branched off of that. And so now I'll be walking down the street and some people, people will say, hey, Nick. And I'm like, do I know you?
Mhm.
Like, oh, saw your hat. And I'm like, wow, that actually works. So ever since then, me and Mike have become good buddies. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine. So I give him all the credit in the world for, he was kind of the one that pulled me out of that, not knowing it. And now we're buddies, but for years I listened to him and, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And then started recording me doing what I do, hunt and fish and raise kids and coach football. And, I'm a busy parent just like everybody else. We've got kids that play in 5 or 6 different sports, competition, cheer, volleyball, softball, football, all the things. Dude, put a camera on yourself going through that hot mess and everybody else that is going through that will be like, this is just a dude that happens to work in real estate that, knows what he's talking about, but he's someone I can get along with because I feel like I'm in the same position he's in. So
man, it's good. Yeah, I love and definitely shout out to Mike. What a good dude.
Mike's the best.
Met him years ago. Yeah, I went back on his podcast recently. Love the guy. Awesome dude. But man, I agree with all of that, right? Like first and foremost, so man, Nick, I was speaking at this event not that long ago. And this woman on stage right in front of me, she's a psychologist or psychiatrist. I honestly can't remember what the difference is, but, and she's a New York Times bestseller, like really sweet woman, right? She gets on stage and she's talking about that marketing is you choosing how you're going to show up every day and then just make sure you do that, right? She gives the example of Dolly Parton apparently would sleep with makeup on or still does or whatever with makeup on. And that way, if someone woke her up in the middle of the night, she'd look the same. I don't know. And she was like, that's what you're supposed to do. And then I was up right after her and I was talking about
Dolly's house is right down the road from
is it? That's awesome. Yeah. So, personal story for you. So I'm on right after her. And of course, I'm not going to say everything she just said is not true, right? That would be extremely rude. But I get up and I say, look, I don't know how anyone could sustain that even. You got to choose who you're going to be and then show up like that. That seems impossible. The easiest thing for you to do is just be who you are and just show up and do that and try to be really good at it, right? Like it's not an excuse because if you say, well, I'm just naturally lazy, so I'll be lazy. No, that's not a good thing, right? That's not honoring to the Lord first and foremost. That's not a good thing. But to your point, it's like, man, just be who you are. That's what people want. A buddy of mine said, it's like, he was talking about my podcast. He was like, Garrett, it's like people are dating you and you've never met them, right? And exactly what you're talking about. They show up like, oh, I love the jokes or I love that or whatever. And it's just me being me, and there's plenty of people that don't like it, and that's fine. I like that they know enough about me.
Plenty of other podcasts to listen to.
Absolutely. So it's good. It's right. So you jump in. Now, I think it's fascinating right out of college, right? How do you get into real estate right out of school? Like, was that something you dreamed of doing? Why do you jump in? And then what were the first few years like as you were trying to figure it out? Closing day is a win for you, but for your clients' kids, leaving their first home can be a tough transition. As realtors, we don't just sell houses, we help families find where they belong. That's why I love We Are Home When We're Together by Gene Stoffer and Grace Start from Magnolia Network. This beautiful picture book helps children embrace the change of a move. It's the perfect, meaningful resource to recommend or even include in your next closing gift to show you care about the whole family. We Are Home When We're Together is available now on Amazon. Order a copy today. Your clients and their little ones will thank you.
So I got in because my older sister was an agent in Scottsdale, Arizona. She worked with some baseball players and stuff out there.
That's cool.
And I lived with her in her basement when I got out of school. And basically she was like, "Hey, you grew up here. You're pretty well connected. You know a lot of people. This could be a good fit for you." And I was like, maybe I'll give it a shot. So this was kind of my backup plan to I'm going to do this until I figure out what I want to do. And 22 years later,
Nice.
This is what I do. So
Or you're still trying to figure it out.
Were weird.
Could be that. Yeah.
First couple years were, I guess it was 05, 06, which everything was really booming. But I was brand new, so I didn't have my database. I didn't have client relationships yet. So I was building those. And soon as I kind of got my feet underneath me, 08, 09 hit, which everybody knows it was just wild. Prices dropped and all that. But good thing Nashville is kind of a little bit of a protected bubble. At least it has been for a while. In 22 years, I've never seen prices drop significantly. Wow. So they rebounded in 11, 12, 13. So I kind of got kicked in the teeth the first couple of years. First 3 or 4 years. I'll never forget my first year. I made $17,000.
You're crushing it, man.
I was stoked about it, man. Yeah. That's the most money I'd ever made. I was right out of college, living in my sister's basement.
That's awesome.
This is great.
That's awesome. It is.
And just like any other business, you build on past relationships.
Yeah.
Nobody is ever a past client. Everybody I've ever worked with will continue to hear from me, not in an annoying way, but hey, I'm here. You need anything? I'm your guy. You need a contractor, you need advice, whatever it is. You just don't lose relationships with past people that you've worked with. You want to compound on top of those.
It's good. Yeah.
So it's just a numbers game at that point.
Exactly. And I was just thinking, like, I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? That's what I teach all the time. But I love that you're talking about, you're 22 years in the business. One of the flaws that I fall into as well sometimes, right, is I think that the things I'm building, it's going to happen quickly. Like, I've got this idea, everyone should buy in, it should work. And man, it's really more about, like, if I'm still here and I've been trying to do the hard work to put the things in place and learn what I need to learn, do what I need to do, like, it is going to pay off. It just is going to take a little bit. Like, that's just the reality. And so you've got 22 years of trying to figure it out, trying to do the right things. In your, 18th year, you start a podcast, it doesn't work. And so in your 20th year, you restarted and now it's working at a higher level. You're just spending the time learning what you need to learn, taking the actions you need to take. And man, you've got 22 years under your belt of people getting to know you and you becoming you got a hat that people recognize you now, right? Like, those things just don't happen overnight. And I think that we are so quick as people, but certainly as an industry, to say, well, that didn't pay off in 3 months. It must not work for me. Therefore, I need to jump and do, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go spend money with Zillow because they told me if I give them money, they'll give me a business back. And like, no, they just sell you hope. They don't sell you a business. But that's what agents are looking for, as opposed to what you're talking about. Just try to do the right thing as often as you can and then just still be here. Right? You could have gotten out of the industry in 08, 09. Many agents did, and some came back. You survived.
Well, and here's the trick that I don't want to say newer agents have, my business didn't take off exponentially until I started showing my face and using
Mm,
Instagram, using podcast, using those platforms. The first 15 to whatever many years before I started doing all that, they were good. I was building it and building it and building it. But when I started putting a camera in front, that's when things
mm,
changed. So a lot of these newer people or younger agents or whatever have opportunities that I didn't have back
mm,
then. I remember doing some listing videos with remember the little flip
mhm,
cameras?
mhm.
It was grainy and
Those are
took,
awesome.
an hour and a half to upload. It was
Yep,
awful.
yep.
And so the technology's there for people to and again, I get I'll get sidetracked here. It aggravates me to death when you get all these brand new agents getting out there and acting like they've, been in the game a long time and know what they're doing. You got to be careful of that as well. A lot of people that have no experience are out there, selling their marketing plan and, follow me and all that good
Mm,
stuff. So for people needing a realtor, be very leery of that as well. But as far as branding yourself and getting well known in the area, it is far easier now than it was when I first started.
mm,
So I think people have a lot quicker growth potential than maybe I did starting 20 something years
mm,
ago. Um, all it takes is just, man, having the guts to do it.
mm. Mm. Yeah, not taking yourself so seriously. It's to your point of like, you don't have to post that episode on or podcast. You don't have to post that video. You don't have to like none of this stuff. I mean, I guess if you go live, maybe you can delete it. I don't even know. But just do it.
I'm not that
Yeah,
confident
yeah.
yet. No.
Nice. So you don't even need to go live. There you go. You heard it here first. Yeah, I think that so much is just show up and just do it. And the reality is, you've got kids, I've got kids. Like my kids, especially when they try anything, especially at the beginning, it's like, well, Dad, I don't like it. I'm terrible at it. Well, yeah, everyone is, right? That's literally what happens. There's even so many studies and data of and naturally, right? But you could hate it as long as you keep going. When you start to get good at it, obviously what happens? Now you really like it. I mean, they just like there's so many studies, and we were looking at some with our kids playing piano, for example. And it's, well, I don't want to keep playing. I don't like it. I don't like, hey, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And then boom, something shifts. When they actually start to get good at it, they're like, oh, I really like piano. Now they're practicing on their own, right? So, man, it is just a test of endurance almost, just to start. So the courage to start, to your point, and then just keep going and don't stop. If you don't stop, eventually it's going to pay off, right? It's the
Well, the thing is, you never know what's going to hit or what's not either.
absolutely true.
There's stuff I've put a lot of effort and time and money into that I was like, this is going to get a lot of traction.
Yep.
Nothing. And then I've done some, you know, inside a listing of mine. I was doing a little video poking fun at some influencer agents, and it went viral and got 2 million
Nice. That's
views.
awesome.
And I picked up clients from it.
Mm,
One client was from Canada.
mm,
They were like, everybody up here's laughing. You're the guy that did that video. I'm like, oh my
that's awesome.
God. That was 20 seconds of me just messing
Mm,
around. And that's the one that
mm.
took off.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't even know. Right. Yeah. But
no
it's just because you
clue.
kept showing up and doing it. Right?
Yeah.
That's it's man, baseball player, right? The former co-host of the show, Tyler Wilson, he was a pro baseball player. And for him, it's like, I don't know when I'm going to have my best stuff, but I'm going to show up. He was a pitcher. I'm going to show up every fifth day and I'm going to pitch. And then there's going to be occasional times where the game either, I don't have a great game, but then we crush the other team, or there's going to be times I might feel like I had a great game and then we lose anyways, So, man,
Yeah.
you can only control what you can control. And what he can control is to be ready every fifth day to get out there and pitch. Man, you can control, do I post every day or what exactly you're doing, whatever that looks like for you. So, man, for the agent, and just to kind of wrap this up, but for the agent who's like, all right, I like it, Nick. I know you're talking about getting out there. now you mentioned the word producer earlier. Like, I don't have a producer. I can't afford that. Like, what do I even do? We make up so many excuses to not do something, right? So what would you say to that agent's like, yeah, podcasting sounds fun, but man, I can't do that. Or, what do you mean about content? You got a producer, all this stuff. Like, what's your advice?
Well,
What do
hey,
they
here's
just
the
do?
deal. I've got a producer that's fantastic. Anybody in Nashville, it's your show. Jim McCarthy does it. He does a bunch of podcasts around town. So there are people, no matter where you are, it is very affordable.
Hmm.
I think I pay, I don't know, 300, maybe 400 an
Wow.
episode. And that's recording, video. He places it on YouTube, like
Hmm. Yeah, it's a
everything.
good deal.
So yeah, if you do a whole bunch of episodes, that can stack up, but it's also, I can use one episode and get 15 pieces of content from that episode
Hmm.
and bleed it out over time. So I'm never going to run out of content.
Hmm.
The way I do my podcast is I don't do it every day. I set it up where I'll do 3 or 4 a day and knock them out hour after hour after hour. And now Jim has 4 weeks worth of stuff to put
Hmm.
together. And then from those 4 weeks of stuff, I may have 3 months worth of content.
Hmm. It's awesome. Yeah, it's like, and if I said, "Hey, everybody, for $300 to $400, I'll sell you 50 leads." None of them are going to convert, but I'll give you. They'll be like, 90% of agents would sign up for that,
Yeah.
right? So it's just an understanding of, one feels like throwing good money after bad, and the other one feels like you're investing in something long term, knowing that, yeah, it doesn't pay off today. It doesn't pay off tomorrow. It'll pay off in the next 6 months, next year, next 2 years, right? But you will be glad you have it when you actually start to invest and see the return in the build. Nobody gets a return right away. That just doesn't happen, right? It is just, to your point, being out there. Like, if anything, taking away from this episode, it's be willing to just put yourself out there. People want to see the real you. Be authentic, right, to what Nick's talking about, and then be willing to invest in some of the stuff. Like, maybe podcasting is not for you, right? Maybe agents, you're thinking, that's not me. I don't know anybody interesting. Well, first of all, that's rude. There's probably a lot of interesting people in your life that you could highlight, right? But maybe podcasting is the thing. I think the point in this is, listen to what Nick's talking about and think about, maybe what's that idea that you've just been terrified to just try, right? Maybe even putting a camera in front of your face, exactly what he's talking about. Maybe just putting yourself out there online. It's okay. First of all, they're not going to think about us a day later when they see a video that flops. Who cares? They're not going to be thinking about us anymore, right? So, like,
Yeah.
especially as believers, I think we have, in my opinion, an unfair advantage to say, I don't have to take myself that seriously. I'm fully aware that I'm a sinner in need of God's grace, and that's who I am. And so my job is to try to honor the Lord with what I do. And part of that just means I'm going to just show up and try, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to commit to getting better, like Nick's talking about. And the Lord's going to decide. The Lord decided that your video was going to get 2 million views, right? That wasn't your choice. You chose
No.
the other one that you spent time on, right? But he's the Lord of the output. We're in charge of the input, and we just got to take more chances, man, be more authentic. So, man, brother, if someone's listening, like, what do you want to leave them with? What's the encouragement for them to say, get out there and just go do something? What would you encourage them with?
I understand the people that are nervous about it. I was as well. But once you start seeing results, the game changes, and you get way more confident in yourself. You have more people that put their trust in you, which then elevates how you feel about yourself as a professional, as a person, all the layers. But had I done this sooner, my career would be far more advanced than it is. So the longer you delay doing something like that, putting yourself out there, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a podcast. You can go video doing, interviews with the local business owners. That's basically the same thing I'm doing. It's just I have someone that's producing it and putting it out on YouTube and all that. You can do that. You don't have to have a producer. Put the phone up in front of you in your office and come up with a script and talk to it. rewatch it. And if you don't like it, don't put it out there. Put out 5 or 6 different episodes of, just for yourself, and you'll see yourself getting better at it. I'm not really naturally gifted at being a wordsmith or pulling stuff out of people. So that's why I started with my friends. Hey, I can sit down and have a conversation with anybody. Just put it out there because people are interested in that whole real life stuff now, because I think there's so much fakeness, so much AI, so much people can smell BS right now. So the more authentic you are, and like I said, get people to learn who you are before they meet you, that first interaction you have with them is going to be great. I have people that have watched my stuff for years that'll call me, hey, I'm finally moving to Nashville. How's Caden doing? He's a junior now, right? They had a great football season. I'm like, how did you know that? You put it out there. They feel like they already know you. And so that makes the relationship a heck of a lot easier to get in when you have those, first couple hours getting to know somebody. It's somebody will come in town that's, watched my stuff for a long time, and within 3 minutes, we're the best of friends.
It's awesome.
So,
but it was years and time for you to build that. Right. Yeah, exactly. Man, so good. So, man, brother, if they want to connect with you, if they want to send you a referral, lots of people moving to Tennessee, right? It's a red state, so lots of people moving there. Man, how would they connect with you, buddy? How would they, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, man, all of my stuff is tied to my website, nickwoodard.com. My podcast is on there, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. So if you go there, you can get in touch with me that way.
Perfect.
But, yeah, man, I love what you're doing too, man. This is a great, I won't say niche, but it's something different. And when y'all reached out to me, I was like, I'd be honored to be on it.
Yeah. I love it, man. And I appreciate you coming on. It has been a blessing of a way that I didn't expect. And probably like you, doing podcasting was, I didn't know what to expect. The best part has been I'm getting to build relationships with people. There's no other reason I would have met them, right? And that is cool. It is one of the secrets to podcasting is, the people that I've had on the show, if I just said, hey, will you hang out with me for an hour? They'd say, absolutely not, right? But if I say, you want to be on my podcast? So like 100% I do, And so, you get to get in relationships with really cool people, and that alone is fun. And that's a good part. And man, so much of what you said just reminds me, like, sometimes we just do things and we think it's going to work. We think it's an idea, and we have no idea what's going to happen. And maybe it doesn't.
But one thing I want to make sure we cover before we jump off this is keep in mind when you have guests on your podcast, most of them feel like you're doing them a favor. And when you put stuff out there, you can tag them. They're going to share it with their people. So you're growing your brand through each and every single person you have on there.
Yep.
Because they're going to share the content because they're like, look at this podcast I was on. Now you're going to get your face in front of people that, you wouldn't have before. So it can grow exponentially by just that alone.
It's good, man. I love it. Yeah. We're just borrowing each other's audience, right? Well, what's a way for you to get out there? Put it on social, get yourself in front of other people's audience, get them in front of yours. Like, this is mutual win-win. That's what we're trying to do. So yeah, I mean, obviously, like you, I love the podcasting space, and any agent out there that's thinking maybe they want to do a podcast, just shoot me an email. It's in the show notes, or text me. It's in the show notes. We'd love to support you in any way we can. But faithful agents, we love you. Nick Woodard, man, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. Such a pleasure to have you and to meet you. If you got anybody moving to Tennessee, he's your man. Check out the 615 podcast first. Send that to your people first. Let them date, quote unquote, Nick for a little while, and then they'll know him when they get there. So love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Hey, Christian agent, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If it resonated, would you take 30 seconds and share it with another agent who's also trying to grow their business without losing their faith, family, or peace? That's how this message spreads. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. I release new ones each Thursday to help you build success that actually lasts. It genuinely fires me up knowing this podcast is helping you pursue excellence to the glory of God, both at work and at home. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode of The Faithful Agent.